Hello, hello. Oh, you're getting excited. Should I add a little something to this? The background is so boring. Let's just add that back there. Make it a little bit more interesting, I guess. Before I get into talking about my thoughts about these albums, I just want to make a quick little disclaimer because I know how people on the internet are. So again, I will be sharing my thoughts and my perspective on these albums and the artists. Throughout the entire video, anybody watching this should remember that music is like a really personal thing. What resonates with one person might not necessarily resonate with another. What you like somebody else might not like. What speaks to you, how you interpret something might not be the same way that somebody else interprets it. So yeah, just keep that in mind throughout the video. Like, these are just my opinions. They're not right or wrong. They're just my own opinions, and it's just how I've connected to albums, and it's what I like. And I am always for everybody just exploring music in their own way and forming their own opinions and their own connections with the music that they love. So with that being said, let's get started. Okay, so let's start with the ones up here. These are the last ones I was kind of listening to. I just kind of left them up here. So first is this, I don't know if it's better to take them out of the sleeve because of the reflection. First is this Led Zeppelin one, which is just their self-titled album. I love Led Zeppelin, like just their sound from vocals to instrumentals. It's just like, it's such a good sound that they have. I just love like the riffs that they have and their little blend of like rock and blues. I just get like so excited and giddy playing them, and or whenever one of their songs comes up on a playlist. This, and I have another Led Zeppelin record. Those two I will always be reaching for. Moving on, we've got ABBA. This is just a compilation of their greatest hits. So I actually got introduced to ABBA through Mamma Mia, and that's actually like the reason why I got this record, is because this is mostly just the Mamma Mia soundtrack. I love the Mamma Mia soundtrack, and I love listening to it through like ABBA's sound, if that makes sense. This is like such a feel-good record. I just know that if I play this, whatever mood I'm in, I'm always gonna feel like good. I'm gonna feel happy. I especially love having this record on in the background while I cook. Okay, next is Weezer. So this one was actually a present, and I personally love it when people get me like their favorite album or what they're currently listening to, because like this isn't something that I would have gotten for myself, but I ended up loving it. I had listened to a few Weezer songs in the past, obviously. I mean, they have like a few very popular songs, but I had never done like a proper listen through any of their albums. And I'm so glad that I got gifted this, because I don't think I would have given it, like I don't think I would have given the band a proper chance and actually sat down and listened through one of their albums. I love their sound. Their pop with like a slight hint of rock is just so good. They do like a really good guitar. Most of their songs have such a distinctive guitar in them. The album just has kind of like a feel-good vibe to it, if that makes sense. Next we've got Little Pop Bible, 1989 by Taylor Swift. What can I say about this? It's just a really fun album. What it looks like, which is such a beautiful color. It looks a little bit more kind of purpley in real life than it doesn't, maybe like that you can kind of tell, but yeah, but it's a very beautiful color, very good album, love it. But I love anything that Taylor Swift does, so I think that's not really saying much for me. And then the inside, if you haven't seen it, has like a little collage, which is just so cute. And the sleeves that it came in, like the sleeves that each record came in, also have their own little picture. And the vault tracks on this album are just so good, so good. Moving on to the ones down at the bottom. Melodrama by Lorde. This album is so fucking good. Lorde's voice always sounds really good, but I don't know what it is about this specific album that it just sounds like a dream. I think that the name of this album really encompasses how it feels. I love how dramatic this album feels. She captured our emotions and how we feel and like how powerful they are through love and heartbreak and loneliness really well in the lyrics of this album. Honestly, just a great album overall. Moving on, we've got Sometimes I Might Be Introvert by Little Simz. I got introduced to Little Simz a few years ago by my cousins. I like instantly fell in love with her style. She has this like really unique mix of rap and hip hop and a little bit of electric and some Afrobeat in some of her songs, which I love. I think that the way that she switches her flow adds so much depth to her music, and it's honestly just like really impressive. And also her pen game is crazy. She has these like deep, thought-provoking lyrics, and I just love sitting down and like really listening to her music and like the songwriting and what she has to say. I really recommend that you give her a listen if you haven't already. I would also like to get Stillness in Wonderland because I really enjoy that album as well. I just haven't gotten around to it. Colores by J Balvin. Not much to say about this album, to be honest, other than it's just like really fun, and I love playing this in the summer. It's just such a good, fun, light album to play in the summer. It's a really good album overall. Honestly, every song on it is a hit. I love that he really went with like the colors theme, so each song's name is a different color. Cover art is just so beautiful and bright. It's amazing. And then the actual records themselves are super funky and cool. This is one of them, which has this like monkey looking thing on it, which I think is super fun. And then the other one, super sick as well, has this kind of like face thing on it. Next, I've got Hotel California by The Eagles. To me, this is like one of the albums that just embodies classic rock. The songwriting is just really good in this album, and it has like a good range of songs. It's like a really easy album to get into. I'm not like a huge Eagles fan, but this album specifically is just like really good. And it has like so many classic songs in it. I love talking about music, and I love hearing like what people's favorite music is. Next, I've got Wonder by Shawn Mendes. I don't really reach for this too often, if at all. I don't really have anything to say about this. Nothing against Shawn, just haven't listened to it in a long time, so don't have much to say about it. Linkin Park, Minutes to Midnight. Linkin Park just brings back so much nostalgia. This is what it looks like on the inside. I wouldn't say that this is my favorite album of them. For me, Meteora tops this album. I think to me, this album is maybe a little bit more subdued than Meteora. Is that the right word to say? Still a really good album though. Still love listening to it. It's fucking great. They did a really good job on it. Next is Bad Bunny. This cover, I love this cover. I love looking at the little details of this cartoon. It's just, whoever designed this did a really good job. I think it's really cool. But yeah, the flow of this album is fantastic. The features that he has on the album, I think, help add a little bit more depth to it. And this is what the pressing looks like. I think it's so cool. And then when it's actually on the turntable and spinning, this center part looks so sick. The Best of Pink Floyd. This, along with Moving Pictures by Rush, they were my first two records. My parents got them for me. This is what it looks like on the inside. It's really shiny. I just realized how shiny this is. Wow, I can see my own reflection in here. I love the different music elements that they incorporate in their songs. The songwriting is really great. Also, the instrumental passages that they incorporate into their music is just chef's kiss. Let's do Moving Pictures, since that was also my first. Where is it? Where is it? What? Moving Pictures, Rush. This album to me is so memorable. I think just the songwriting, the vocals, the instrumentals, it's so good in this album. Next, we've got the Rolling Stones, Hot Rocks from 1964 to 1971. The Rolling Stones are just legendary, I think. I feel kind of like a broken record when I talk about all of these old rock bands, but like they're just so good. There's just very few artists nowadays, I think, that are making such consistent, good, timeless music. This is what the vinyl looks like. This is also one of those bands where I'm just so happy if one of their songs comes on, or like just playing them here at home. Like, I'm just so happy to listen to them. I love their sound and like the style of rock and blues mixed together. And they just have such a big list of hits and staples within classic rock. Ooh, next we've got two Halseys in a row. This one is Hopeless Fountain Kingdom. This was a really big staple album for me, I'm gonna be honest. Oh my god, this is so hard to get out. I love the storytelling in this album. She drew a lot of inspiration from Romeo and Juliet, and you can definitely tell when you're watching the music videos for the songs in this album. I just love how like emotional and interconnected the songs in this album are. She did a really good job on this album, I think. And that's what the record looks like. I think the yellow and the blue look so good together. Manic by Halsey, again. I really like this album because Hopeless Fountain Kingdom kind of feels like her just telling somebody else's story, but this album feels really personal. But yeah, I just thought that the lyrics were vulnerable and you can feel her emotions throughout the entire album. Okay, so this next one, you gotta stay with me, you gotta see the vision. This is what I mean when I say I love it when people get me their favorite albums or what they're listening to, or like just something that they really like and they get it for me. So this one is actually a soundtrack, and my cousin's girlfriend got it for me because she loves this movie, but it kind of ended up becoming one of my favorite records. It's the Shrek soundtrack. There's not much to say about this other than it's fucking amazing, and I am so happy whenever I put it on. I like just like playing it randomly. I'm like so happy with my little Shrek record. And the little thingy is just his face. And then it also comes with this nightmare-inducing, really, poster. Thank you, Simona, for getting me this. Next is Harry Styles' self-titled album. This I haven't listened to in a hot minute, to be honest. There he is. Just kind of fell out of my Harry phase and never got back into it. With that being said though, this is a really great album and I love the rock influence that he has in the songs in this album. Overall, like, good album, just hasn't really been something I've gravitated towards. Next is AM by Arctic Monkeys, which I think this is like a really nostalgic album for a lot of people. I just remember being obsessed with this album back in like Tumblr days. Honestly, I think that this album altered my brain chemistry when I first heard it. I was never the same after that. And honestly, it's still such a good album. It's such a hit. Fleetwood Mac. I love hearing their musical evolution throughout their albums. Overall, Fleetwood Mac I think just has had such a great sound, like instrumental wise and also vocally throughout their entire discography. And then obviously the addition of Lindsay and Stevie was a pretty monumental moment in classic rock, I think. They were just such a popular band, and for good reason, because they're really good. I just love this band. Actually, I really want to get Mystery to Me because I've been super into that album recently. Especially want to hear Emerald Eyes on record because the entire album is great, but there's just something about that song. Like right now it's hitting this spot. Like it's just tickling my brain so well. I could hear it on replay all day long. About halfway done, guys. Stay with me, stay with me. Next is The Beatles. This is their greatest hits from 1962 to 1966. This smells horrendous. Like I cannot tell you how bad this smells. I got it at like a farmer's market at like just one of those like little old stands, and obviously it's secondhand. I'm thinking this is older than me because it's bad. Okay, I'm stuttering. It's so bad. I don't love the Beatles, but I'm not like opposed to them. I'm just kind of indifferent about them, I think. Get that stink back in there and away. And then we've got Axis, Bold as Love by Jimi Hendrix. Look at the center of this one. It's so cute. It's like the perfect little color of pink. Jimmy just puts me into such a good little groovy mood, you know? I love a good little psychedelic-y rock sound. Jimmy! One of my faves, Janis Joplin. I love Janis Joplin. She's such an icon. I mean, look at her. Does that not give icon? That gives icon. My dad introduced me to her and it was a love at first listen, love at first hear. She has such amazing vocals. One of my favorite songs of hers is Bobby McGee because I just love being able to listen to her voice without like no backup instruments, like nothing in the back to take away from the power of her voice. It's just like borderline hypnotic. It is hypnotic. She's hypnotic. Plastic Hearts by Miss Miley Cyrus. I love the art on this, and then the actual record itself has like little mouths on it. I love that she leaned more into kind of like a rock vibe and sound when making this album. I think she has the perfect voice and the perfect style for that kind of sound. She just did such a good job with like instrumentals and the overall sound, and again, her vocals are crazy. I don't know if it's like all the Hannah Montana I watched as a kid and I just grew some like weird attachment to her, but she's like always putting out hits. Rush by Maneskin. I'm a big Maneskin fan. To be honest, I kind of like their Italian stuff a little bit more than this, but I do like that I could actually understand 98% of the songs in this album. I feel like their older stuff, like the stuff in Italian, had a little bit more of a deeper rock influence to it, and this just feels a little bit more kind of pop to me. Like, it still obviously has like rock in it, but it just feels a little bit more pop. And not to say that I don't like pop, obviously I love pop. I just kind of wish that it was leaning a little bit more towards rock, like their older albums, if that makes sense. Damiano's voice is very good, and the instrumentals is just amazing in all of their songs. It's just like a really bold sound, and I love that. Next, we've got Midnight by Miss Taylor Allison Swift. I feel like everybody and their mothers has seen this, but yeah, this is what it looks like. Beautiful, stunning. Looks even better with the light shining through from over there. Like on my side, it looks better. I feel like this was so heavily talked about that now I have like nothing to say about it because everything is already out there. I just really enjoyed this album. Just think that everything Taylor does is amazing. I love the little interwoven web that she has with all of her music, and her songwriting is just immaculate, but we all know that already. And the Easter eggs are just always so good. Like, it's just so much fun finding little Easter eggs and being in that like Swiftie community and just kind of seeing like everybody's point of view on her music and like making connections and all that, and seeing other people make connections and being like, oh yeah, like blah blah. Anywho, next we've got Nirvana, Nevermind. Yeah, Nevermind. Again, this is such an iconic band and an iconic album. I just love that this album specifically like really embodies kind of like that grunge style of the 90s. I just love like a good raw gritty sound. I think it comes through so nicely on the records, and just overall I do love like a more grittier sound to the music I listen to. I feel like I've been sitting here for 100 years. Don't Smile by Billie Eilish. The record on here, oh my gosh, this is probably one of my favorite colors. Are you joking? So good. The songs on this album, I just love the kind of minimalism of them. Obviously, since this album was released, Billie has come out with like fucking amazing stuff, and it's been like so cool watching her grow as an artist, and Phineas too, I guess, like as a producer. There's just like something about these specific songs that I just like, it sounds so dreamy to me, this whole album. This one is thick. Fearless by Taylor Swift, Taylor's version, of course. Again, I love everything that Taylor does, and this album is no exception to that. She's big because it's a three-parter, and then each one of these, so each section has a record in it, so there's 3 records in total in this one. They each have a different picture in the center, but they're all the same color. So they're all this like kind of gold color. Love the way that this album feels. The songs in this album just kind of encompass like young love and heartbreak and coming of age so well. It's just a really good album. and it's one of those albums that I like. It just has so many songs that are kind of embedded into our childhood, at least to mine. I like have like vivid memories of me getting home from school and like going onto the little family computer and going onto YouTube and just playing You Belong With Me, the music video. Oh my god, I was obsessed with that music video. So I have Folklore, 2 copies of Folklore. Why, you may ask? I don't know. One day I had 0 copies of Folklore, so I was out and I thought, let me get a copy of Folklore because I don't have Folklore, and there was like a nice little deal on it. And then all of a sudden I got home and I had 2 copies of Folklore. Don't know how that happened. I love the different sound of this album. I think she did like a really good job kind of stripping down her usual sound. The storytelling of this and Evermore, the storytelling of both of those albums, she just makes it so easy to get lost into that little world that she creates. Next, we've got another Led Zeppelin. This is 4, I believe. The inside of this I think is so cool. It's just this really long kind of, I don't know who he is, but he's looking over this little village, whoever he is. Again, I love their like classic rock and like blues kind of mix of sound that they have, and then they also incorporated a bit of like folk, I want to say, into this album. So this album has a pretty good diversity of songs, I think, and just like a bunch of iconic songs. I mean, Stairway to Heaven, Black Dog, Rock and Roll. Just another timeless masterpiece. We're almost done. Another Fleetwood Mac, Rumors. I feel like everybody knows this album. I mean, I feel like this is like one of the most iconic albums of all time. Every song in this album is just so good. You can really feel the emotions throughout the songs. The songwriting is amazing, instrumentals, vocals, yeah, just everything about this album is amazing. I love it so much. I think this album is well deserving of all of the attention that it got and all of the praise that it got. More Fleetwood Mac. This is again just another greatest hits record. This record specifically is so good to put on in the back while I'm like cleaning or something. I don't know why, it just gets me into such a good mood, and I get things done so quickly. This one I actually have 2 copies of as well. This one is scratched and it skips backwards. Since like obviously it's scratched, I'm not gonna use it. I thought it would be like a good little piece to kind of incorporate in decorating kind of around this area. I just haven't gotten around to actually decorating this area yet. Next, we've got 2 Måneskin. I think this is their second album. Yeah, this is their second album. I love that it's very influenced by old rock, but they kind of also modernized it in a way. Wow, I'm really fitting them all into here. Look at that. Look at how much more space now I have to get more records. This is the album that came right after that other one that I just showed you. I'm not gonna try to pronounce it in Italian because I'm gonna butcher it. I have been told that when I say anything in Italian, it just sounds like I'm trying to speak in Spanish. So I'm not going to speak in Italian on camera. So pretty. This album is newer, so obviously their sound is a little bit more developed, a little bit more refined. Overall, the songs in this album just feel a little bit more mature. Mature? This is actually my favorite album of theirs. Finishing off strong with Meteora by Linkin Park. This album to me just tops everything else that they've done. When I said that Linkin Park brings back a lot of nostalgia, it's this album specifically. This was one of the first bands that my dad ever introduced to me when I was younger. I remember so vividly in Cuba, he had a CD of it and he would play it all the time. And just like little me fell in love with the sound of Linkin Park. This and then Evanescence too, he played a lot. So those two bands are just kind of like really deep rooted into me. I love their sound and their music, and especially this album is just so good. I love the intensity that they have in their music, and I just love that like mix of like grungy metal and electronic and a little bit of hip-hop. It's great. Getting back into Linkin Park though, and like listening to it now, not only that I'm older, but also now that I can actually understand the lyrics, because obviously when I was younger and living in Cuba, I didn't know any English. Actually being able to understand the words in the songs just adds like a whole new level of emotion and power into the songs. Linkin Park to me is just an iconic band, and I think a lot of people will agree with that. Who's gonna disagree with me that Linkin Park is an iconic band? Transformers soundtrack, hello. And that brings us to the end of my collection. Honestly, I had so much fun going through them all, and I hope that you enjoyed seeing them, and I think like getting to know me maybe a little bit more through my music taste. Thanks for watching. Bye.